Welcome to the Game Professor Podcast, where the students have taken over. We profess our love and hate for all things video games. We do actually have some love this week, but, the new hate makes the news. First and foremost, after we get through the lecture lowdown, OpenAI goes full Deus Ex Human Revolution on Apple of all companies. Both EA and Ubisoft decide to gaslight people into thinking that they never had those extras to begin with. We get info on AMD's Zen 6 architecture, but it's not for us for quite a bit. We almost lost Valve early on thanks to some corporate chicanery, and they have taken the high road since then with a nice little story about their interaction with the developer. GTA 6 will require ID, and you can't pay a random dude to walk into the store and buy it for you. Kind of. If we have time, there is more Sony news, and I'm sorry. If they stop having so many unique things to talk about, I will stop putting them in here. First, a very, very fun and interesting story as a gaming PC saves its owner from a dog assassin. No, I'm not kidding, nor am I making that up. Reddit user by the name of Angel Babies with 2 Z's woke up in the middle of the night to a loud bang and shattered tempered glass hitting her face. The neighbor rushed over in tears, shaking and sobbing, claiming her dog had accidentally discharged a firearm, sending a stray bullet through their shared wall. Okay, first of all, before we get into the rest of this, BS, right?
Oh, yeah. There's just not a chance. I'm trying to think of an appendage on an animal that could pull a trigger.
Look, okay, if the gun's on the ground, it's a big dog, maybe they're stepping on the slide so it's not going to move, and they're like clawing or pawing at it. And again, it's got to be at least a medium to big dog. Like, right. I could see a realm, depending on the model of pistol, whether or not it has a safety, that it could pull the trigger, okay? There's a realm in which it could happen. However, right, like that old phrase, whatever's the most logical answer is usually the answer. So is it more likely that the dog fired a gun that was left out, potentially on the ground, or that the neighbor lied about having a negligent discharge and claimed it to be the dog?
Oh, absolutely a lie.
So
it's just, especially given trajectory and things like that, no. Unless this person had their PC on the ground and they also slept on a mattress that was on the ground.
Yeah, because that PC is definitely like the desk, right? And so, how's that gun angled up if it's on the ground? Because the dog's not on the dresser, pawing at this thing, pulling the trigger.
Right. Or on the coffee table, right?
Or on the coffee table. Yeah, and so we'll get into the actual ballistics of it here, but I'm moving forward. I'm going to continue to say a dog assassin, because it's way funnier. But I think we all recognize that this person's probably just lying. Anyways, responding officers confirmed that the computer altered the bullet's trajectory, and if the PC had not been in the way, the bullet would have struck the user while she was sleeping. The deflected bullet was ultimately found lodged directly under her pillow.
Jeez.
Cutting it this close to death.
Right.
So, what actually happened is the bullet pierced a pink Genesis mid-tower case before hitting the internal components. The round struck the motherboard and eventually contacted the DDR5 RAM modules, specifically G.Skill Trident Z RGBs, hitting the heat sinks, and I should have put a photo in here for you, but it's clearly the RAM stick's bent in the middle. So clearly the bullet, that heat sink from the RAM, caught the bullet and then sent it at a different angle as it went through the motherboard and then struck the RAM at a 45 degree-ish angle, it kind of looks like. Despite the heavy impact, all the SSDs and potentially all the data most likely survived, assuming the rest of the components are fixed and replaced. It took the victim 3 full days to clean all of the shattered tempered glass out of her bedroom. I'm sure it went flying. And thankfully, for everybody involved, including the dog assassin and her owner, 0 injuries were reported from the incident. The neighbor, rightfully so, was officially charged with criminal negligence, and the firearm was confiscated by local authorities. You can't be sending rounds through your neighbor's house. Just you can't be doing it. The victim was awarded $3,500 in insurance payout to build a new gaming rig, and the neighbor obviously made a mistake, promised to cover any additional out-of-pocket expenses for the damages or any sort of cleaning. Look, do we need to contact one of the gun tubers out there and have them make a bulletproof vest of DDR5 RAM sticks? Because I guarantee you right now it's going to be way more expensive than any other bulletproof vest they could purchase.
Dude, oh, yeah, absolutely.
I want to see a Mythbusters style breakdown of trying to recreate this. What it could survive. Yeah. Different calibers, too. I'm just curious now, because it would just be fun. Again, nobody was hurt, so the victim, being a gracious person, is not pressing any sort of further charges, and stated that the neighbor was appropriately paying her dues, was very much apologetic, and seemed genuine, and obviously the criminal charge and lost firearm. So, thankfully, everything ended well, so this is easy to joke about. We're not talking about how a gamer lost her PC and then her life, so thankfully all's good here. So, just to be clear here, make sure when you are meeting your new neighbors, you ask if their dogs have had proper firearm handling training. So, that's the lesson I'm taking from here. Make sure you grill the training regiment the owners have for their firearms and their dogs.
I mean, you're not wrong. I'm trying to figure out this person's GPU. It looks like a 5090.
Could be.
And I'm curious if it was damaged. It doesn't look like it was, but it absolutely could have been.
Well, to be fair here, I assume as expensive as $5,000 is, that the neighbor would probably be willing to fork up $5,000, considering they're not being pressed with any further charges.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. If I was the one that had a negligent discharge, and my neighbor was like, "Look, just pay for house repairs, and I'll check everything and replace whatever parts I need on my computer, or anything that's not working, I'll let you know. You can pay for that." I'd be like, "Whatever you need."
Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's just get past this so I can move on with my life. Sure, this is going to hurt, but way better than it could have ended up, so.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's a decent sized round, too.
Well, it could have been a larger pistol caliber round, but.
Yeah.
Especially because, larger, 45 caliber rounds, speed is what defeats, armor. So if it's heavier and slower moving, it'll do a lot of damage, but it won't necessarily pierce as much. So,
yeah, it looks like it
alrighty
hit both RAM sticks too. That's freaking crazy, man.
I know, right? But you could clearly see that it somewhat caught and deflected it.
Yeah.
So, fun stuff. I mean, fun stuff because everybody's alive. Anyways, now, Heru, have you seen that Black Ops 1 and 2 is back in the news? And if anyone doesn't know, those would be games from 2013. So 13 years ago. It's not your type of thing, so I wouldn't expect it to be on your radar. But the reason they're in the news is because they were surprise released on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 because the ports and backwards compatibility wasn't available. So you couldn't actually play those games anymore as a PlayStation fan or a Sony fan. So they re-released them for $40 each.
I'm not surprised, man.
So even if you had owned this, and to be clear here, these are not remakes. They are direct ports. So while they had some graphical improvements up to a more 1080p-ish resolution and higher frame rates and added a few extra things like an FOV slider, most of the entirety of the game stayed the same. So I don't understand. Because here's the thing, $40 for each game, $30 for the season passes for each. So if you wanted two, decade-plus old games without a remake. These are ports with, I don't know, 4% extra features. A patch, essentially. $140.
I mean, we said it in the last one. You'll own nothing, and Sony will be happy.
Yeah, they'll be happy to charge you more in case you do want it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's stupid because I hate the fact that they did own these games. That's the dumb part.
Mm-hmm.
But they would have had to keep an old console around to be able to play them. But even if you have and own that game, if you don't have the hardware that can play it, and that hardware is no longer in circulation, like, that's just not really... like, you don't own shit at that point.
Nope. And to be clear here, like I said, port, not a remake, nothing for the Xbox or PC, because, credit to Xbox at least, you can still play that game on your Xbox. Like, the digital version is technically backwards compatible, so you can go play that.
Wait, were these digital versions too?
Yes.
That's pure insanity. How?
Yeah,
How is that even valid?
Because they're just ports. So, yeah. To be clear here, if you're a PlayStation Plus subscriber, they do give a heavy discount, so you can get it slightly under $100 for 2 decade-old games. But I don't know, dude. The whole thing is ridiculous. Now, this is obviously ridiculous. We can sit here and beat this into the ground, but it's dumb. It's not the only reason I put this in here, though, because there are some interesting and fun things. And one more sad thing. Considering the high price point, these ports became the top seller on the PlayStation Digital Store.
Yeah, I believe it.
So all of that bemoaning and, you know, we're going to protest and boycott Sony, and yes, there were a bunch of people that canceled their PlayStation Plus subscriptions. Here's why Sony doesn't care. Here's 2 decade plus old games that instantly became bestsellers on the platform for the sheer fact that they were available again. Nothing new has been done. No staggering details or content added. It's not a full remake with modern fidelity graphics, which, I don't know, take it or leave it on whether or not that's a bonus. Point being, not the work done into it other than just making sure it worked on PlayStation, newer consoles, and the top selling game on the store.
Yeah, which literally should have just been what they did when they built the PlayStation 4 in the first place.
And so many players that the combined player base for the 2 games actually had more than Black Ops 7.
I mean, I'm not even remotely surprised.
I mean, I'm a little surprised, but it does seem like the perfect storm. Beloved old games, not available to play on the console unless you buy this version, and terrible new games.
I mean, Black Ops 2 has been widely regarded as the best Black Ops.
I see. Here's the thing. It is one of the best. I feel like you're either a Black Ops fan, and that's the best, or you're a Modern Warfare fan, and Modern Warfare 2 is the best. I feel like it's one or the other. But either way, point is, it's either the best or the second best Call of Duty of all time. Like, it's up there. So, it 100% makes sense that it's very popular, but oh, man, dude, I could. There's no way I could justify paying $140 for ports. I don't care how starved you are for a good Call of Duty. That is just ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it just wouldn't happen.
Especially,
like, why?
I don't know. Because here's the thing too, we're 4 months away from a new Call of Duty. So like, if you're really starving for a Call of Duty game, go back and play any of the other Call of Duties you own. I'm sure you own an old console that has a Call of Duty on it. Just load that shit up, play the campaign, reach out to some friends or something, assuming you have some, and you all could jump back into it for a week or so to just satisfy that itch. But
Black Ops 2, was that a PS2 game?
No. Oh,
it's PS3.
I was gonna say that was PS3 era. You're going way too far back. Because remember, PS2 was still blocky, very blocky. The famously like PS1, PS2, Tomb Raider is kind of what you're thinking.
I'm just like, yeah, you could easily just like find a PlayStation 3 for cheaper than buying these two games again.
Yeah, I'm sure
or,
you could.
Or around the same price, right?
I'm sure you could go right now, because I'm pretty sure the digital version on Xbox is very cheap. I'm sure you could go onto Facebook right now, find not this generation of Xbox, but the last one, an Xbox One or whatever, and then purchase it digitally on Xbox for way cheaper.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Now, to be clear, I don't have the price in front of me, so maybe I'm wrong, but I have a feeling less than $140. Especially if you find like a good like take it or leave it $20 Xbox One that's been pretty beaten up.
I mean, literally just quick Google Amazon $126 for a granted 4 gigabyte Xbox 360, but still.
I think the whole point here though is you could get an entire old school console and go to any sort of used game store, Facebook, eBay, whatever. Buy a buttload of games, and you're going to get way more entertainment out of it than this $140 for the 2 Black Ops games.
Yeah, not to mention, like, if you already did have that console and a bunch of other games, like, yeah, just, it's dumb. Stop giving dumb companies your money for doing dumb things.
Now, the one counterpoint I will recognize is you would miss out on the influx of people, so like an actual healthy multiplayer base, because there's no crossplay at this time. So you do get that as a counterpoint. However, I don't think it's worth it. But I did enjoy all of the modern COD bros going back to play old school COD, because again, not a remake, it's a port, and totally being terrible. So that was fun to see. Obviously, the older mechanics a little bit more rigid. The aim assist functionally different in terms of, let's say, how forgiving it is what I will say.
Yeah.
Compared to modern CODs, which like all the super strengthened rotational aim assist is absolutely ridiculous.
Yep.
Anyways, so you had like Colt Havoc, which is potentially recognized as the #1 Black Ops 7 player for whatever that's worth, who openly struggled to adjust to the weaker aim assist in Black Ops 2, calling the gunplay terrible. So, even someone like FaZe Swag, I mean, is he use FaZe anymore? Just Swag?
No, wait, FaZe is dead.
Constant. What's that?
FaZe is dead, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Formerly, like, I just every time I saw his name, it was always FaZe. Right?
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, we had the whole story about it being ridiculous. Anyways, literally at one point destroying his gaming setup after he was 3 kills away and got stun grenaded and couldn't move and died. And then a few times I saw some clips of him complaining about hit registration, and you watch the video, and because of the aim assist, it's just like shooting all around, and it's like, hit registration, your bullets don't magically hit a guy unless you're aiming at him. I mean, that's wild. Crazy. Terrible hit registration.
Oh, yeah, totally. Wild hit registration. I shot 5 feet to the left of this guy, and it didn't kill him.
So I did thoroughly enjoy chuckling at those clips, because I got to be like, yeah, these ridiculous new age COD people have no idea what it was like. And as of yesterday, Colt Havoc's already come back to Black Ops 7 and like posted a like insane clip where he's jumping around and his aim's perfectly tracking somebody, because of course it does.
Right.
So
I mean,
that's where we're at with modern CODs.
Yeah, welcome to modern aim assist. It's nuts.
Yep. It's honestly, it's the reason every time I'm like, man, I really wish I could play a COD game again, because I just love that arcadey style shooter. Mm-hmm. All I think about is like, yeah, but I don't want to deal with the people with aim assist, because they're going to be really good movement players that abuse the aim assist to keep track of targets as they're moving around.
Yep.
Anyways, some interesting exploits have come back along with surprisingly cheaters. Because the ports use slightly modified versions of the original PS3 codebase, there's a lot of those cheats that already exist out there. So they're starting to flood back on the modern versions of the consoles. There's also an exploit which involves players modifying their PS4 save data to abuse domination mode in Black Ops 1. And my favorite that I've been seeing, because someone posted a video of their entire team just suiciding immediately every time they spawn by pulling out a grenade and tossing it at their feet, because apparently, and this is from the port, not from the original game, that when you immediately kill yourself with grenades, it triggers an XP glitch that allows them to instantly reach maximum prestige.
What? How is that still in the game?
Well, this is with the port. I don't know how long it stayed in the game or if it's already been fixed as of this recording, because again, I kind of looked at this yesterday.
Fair.
But the one video I saw was hilarious because it was just a guy trying to play, and every time he spawns, he runs past teammates that are exploding like it's freaking Normandy Beach.
What a reference.
All right, thanks. It did make me chuckle. So a lot of times with the exploitation or the hacks, some lobbies or playlists have been disabled by Activision, so at least they are somewhat paying attention. But I just found the whole thing interesting from top to bottom about some of the ridiculousness of trying to play an old game for that much money nowadays and people struggling with it. So
I had a realization while you were talking, and I'm just going to share that realization with everybody so that hopefully we're all on the same page. This is only 2 generations of hardware.
Yeah.
So to make that very clear, that is like saying that your 3080 Ti can no longer run anything. Yep. It's the equivalent, right?
That's 100%.
So, like, what the heck? I mean, granted, I guess you could make the argument that technically the generations of GPUs come out a lot faster, but still.
Well, I mean, 2003 would have been that 2000. I think PlayStation 3 released 2006, so that would have been hardware from 2006, so 20 years ago. To be fair, a 20-year-old GPU would definitely run nothing today.
But it would continue running the games from 20 years ago.
True. I mean, a PlayStation 3 technically continues to run the games it ran 20 years ago.
Yeah, but you could actually have internet and access servers.
True. You could have the modern stuff available to you.
Now, I don't know if you'd be able to run Windows 11 on that old hardware, but still.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but you could actually load custom Linux onto PlayStation 3s.
I did not remember that.
Yeah. Sony removed the option later in the life cycle, but initially when the PlayStation 3 came out, you could load up I don't think it was fully custom, but it was like a very straightforward version of Linux with only a few small tweaks. So it's not like something that had to be built from the ground up that you'd have to go to GitHub for. And it's one of the reasons why PlayStations and stuff were bought by universities to use for data mining, because obviously the hardware was, for what power was in it, was cheaper because they're subsidizing it. And then they would load Linux on it and have it do like crunching numbers. So like it was, you could have it be just a standard computing machine. And then eventually they got rid of that feature and we ended up in the modern age. But I did miss that type of fun fact where that was something that was possible for the PlayStation 3, that you could load Linux on it.
Interesting.
Are you looking it up?
No, today I learned.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Alrighty. I think that's all we have for intro stuff. Let's get into my most look forward to segment, Business and Econ. And it's my most it's my most anticipated segment for this week, because we're talking about Apple versus OpenAI. So on July 10th, Apple filed a federal lawsuit in the U.S. District Court of California against OpenAI, alleging a deliberate and systematic campaign to steal trade secrets. Why OpenAI is stealing stuff? It's because they're trying to build their own consumer AI hardware devices to rival things like iPhone or other Mac computing products. And obviously picking up Mac or Apple trade secrets and Apple employees would definitely speed up that initial kind of investment R&D. So one of the things they actually ended up doing was actually buying IO products, which was started by former chief designer Johnny Ives. The company existed for under a year and has not released anything, and OpenAI bought it for $6.4 billion. If that gives you any idea of how invested they are in doing this or how much money they have to burn.
Right.
Anyways,
mostly that one.
Yeah, right. Anyways, OpenAI aggressively poached over 400 former Apple employees who are now working with the company. And obviously, at one point, there was an Apple or a ChatGPT Apple partnership, which was dissolved as Apple's now trying to, or shifted to signing a contract with Google, aka Gemini. And this would probably be the reason why. So, Apple is suing both OpenAI and specifically 2 former Apple employees personally. They are being sued as named loss in the lawsuit. The first one's going to be, and I apologize if I butcher this name, but Tong Tan, T-A-N-G space T-A-N, and Chang Lu, which is C-H-A-N-G-L-U-I. The first one, Tan spent 24 years at Apple, ultimately serving as the VP of product design for iPhone and Apple Watch, and he's now the chief hardware officer at OpenAI. So some guy that was very high up in the company with probably the flagship product and a tertiary product, I would definitely say. If you go from iPhone to Mac to this, I would probably say. And in the months before leaving Apple, he allegedly met with OpenAI and emailed himself Apple supplier intel, while also taking internal summaries of consumer electronics industry. So, while he's working for OpenAI, he is still at Apple, and he is taking specific proprietary, or not proprietary, but insider information about who Apple's suppliers are, and summaries of the data and information that Apple has from around the industry. All of this is definitely Apple property. You are not allowed to take this information to another company when you leave. Tan directed Apple employees interviewing at OpenAI to bring actual parts from Apple Park, which is their headquarters now. Messages show he specifically requested components like batteries, that's like specialized batteries, not AA batteries, built into like the phones and watches and all that kind of other stuff. Main logic boards, system in package, and shields. And one candidate reportedly shocked, stating that they didn't even know they were allowed to take those things out of the office, indicating that they were being lied to and being told to bring these things. Tanya used highly confidential Apple project code names during interviews to ask candidates what's the plan for unannounced products, essentially forcing them to leak information to pass the interview. Anton circulated an internal Apple need-to-know offboarding document to new OpenAI hires. This document outlines Apple's exact forensic and security exit checks, therefore teaching departing employees how to dodge them and bring them essentially what is now stolen information. And OpenAI cheerfully referred to this stolen manual as the checklist that Tong put together.
Oh, man.
So, Heru, at the company you currently work with, you do have access to privileged information.
Tons of it.
How bad is...
You'll be lucky if you don't land in jail.
I mean, this...
For life.
This, we haven't even gotten to the other person yet. So, this already is insane stuff. So, you have a guy that was at the company for decades, who was high level, had access to a lot of things, and so this person knows better, just goes, yeah, I'm going to take a bunch of stuff with me regardless, and then afterwards teaches other prospective employees how to remove intellectual property from Apple with his proprietary or with his insider knowledge, and then have them bring it to the interview. Like, isn't that kind of like also blackmailing? Like, hey, if you want this job, you're gonna have to bring this.
Yes.
Like, that's...
Yes, it absolutely is.
Right? Like, this whole thing is what... Dude, again, I made the joke about Deus Ex Human Revolution, but this is straight up some video game Hollywood-ish right here. Like, I would expect to see this in a fanciful movie or HBO TV show or something, some drama. I would not expect this from real life. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, this person probably lived off of Hollywood crap for a very long time.
Well,
and then was like, oh, I could get away with it.
I mean, they always say that to be high up in a company, you have to be a bit off mentally, right?
Mm-hmm.
So has this person just become so delusional about their high level status that they're like, I can do whatever I want?
Yeah, I mean, basically, all executives in any company tend to be, what is it? What the hell's the term?
A little bit over the fence.
Yeah, but there's a specific word for it. Continue.
Couple fries short of a Happy Meal.
Sir, these are phrases. I said word.
All right, the other individual, Chung Lu, was a senior system electrical engineer who spent 8 years working on the iPhone before leaving for OpenAI in January of this year. Lu refused to return his Apple-issued work laptop when he quit. And shortly after, he discovered a rare authentication bug that still granted him full access to Apple's cloud repository of confidential engineering files.
I'm amazed that he got away with not returning it.
I feel like this has got to be a social thing, right? Like they asked for him to return it, but he was like, a guy that worked at the company forever. I'm sure people like really like the guy, and he's like, look, I'm just gonna wipe it and use the hardware on my own, like yada yada yada. And someone gave him a pass. That's what this feels like. Is that like, I mean, look, it could be corporate bureaucracy and somebody absolutely missed it after asking for it to return it, and it just never got flagged a second time. That could easily be the case. But this feels more like a social thing where he's just like, John's like, hey, Lou, you got to return that laptop. And he's like, yeah, I'll get around it, man. It's got my file, my personal stuff on it. I just got to get that off real quick, and I'll give it back to you. I'm a good dude and a good person, and I'm good for it type thing.
Yeah, I'm definitely not trying to steal all your stuff.
Yep. I mean, because who would assume this would happen? You should assume it would happen. You can't trust anybody. But if you knew somebody on a personal level, especially if you had worked with them for 8 years, I could easily see a scenario in which somebody was too trusting.
Oh, yeah.
Now, again, that still doesn't excuse this behavior, though. You were asked to return this laptop. You did not. It is stolen. Regardless of whether or not you discover a bug, you're doing something illegal on stolen hardware. It's 100% what's happening. Upon discovering the bug, Lou messaged his friend and former colleague still at Apple. I'm gonna say Yutin, Alyssa Peng. Quote, lol, I found out I can access the network storage. So funny, end quote. And then I'm going to assume she replied, I'm ready. Which is now evidence in the federal complaint. So
yeah, I bet.
It's a good thing that criminals, when they do illegal stuff, do it on things that are easily tracked, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, because I'm curious if he sent that before or after he was asked to return it. My guess is probably after.
Well, it has to be after, right? Because he would have discovered the bug in which he would still have access after everything should have been closed off, right?
Yeah.
Because you would have had access if you were still on staff, and that wouldn't have been weird. But still having access not on staff, that's the bug. So at that point, you would send this message. So again, this is why I'm making the assumption here that it's like someone was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm good for it or whatever. Or maybe this person that they talked to, completely conjecture, also planned on leaving, so just didn't care or covered it up or whatever. They have 400 former Apple employees. Chances are somebody else was also doing nefarious things. These are just the two people on top.
Not to mention the fact that they have like high-level execs.
Yeah, exactly right.
So, yeah.
I mean, yeah, you gotta be careful. After actively developing hardware at OpenAI, Liu used his access to download dozens of confidential files, including a 1,000-page compilation of technical files and manufacturing presentations. So again, this is restricted information to the company. You would not be allowed to have any of this in any physical form outside of the company premises or company hardware, I'm sure. After all of this, Liu also coached Peng, which is the person that they sent the text to, on how to copy files to avoid security, told her what to study for her OpenAI interview, and warned her to switch to Line Messenger to hide her tracks. Which she eventually scored a job at OpenAI and left Apple in April 2026. So now, April being 4 months after January. So I think this is where this is all coming in, where this person knew he shouldn't have had the laptop, still had access to the laptop, but was planning on leaving anyways, so told nobody.
Oh, yeah, almost guaranteed.
So, again, all of this illegal, which is why they're being sued. I don't know if criminal charges will happen, because I don't know enough about federal law. Like, if this lawsuit is looking for, compensation and or court orders to stop them from using proprietary information and to punish the company, or if these people actually get criminal time. But with something like this, it feels like they easily could, because sure, this is corporate espionage, but it's theft. Thieves should get punished, right?
Yeah, I mean, corporate espionage is a direct federal crime, so.
There you go. Alrighty. Apple explicitly emailed OpenAI about the security breaches back in February, so they knew about this, and didn't receive a single response, which prompted the lawsuit, obviously. Apple is demanding a jury trial and an injunction to stop OpenAI from using any of its secrets and return all the files, and a full legal discovery into OpenAI's hardware. Legal discovery being access to internal information of the company so that Apple's lawyers can go over everything that's been said and done. And FYI, deleting evidence after a lawsuit has been filed if you can prove evidence is deleted, which lack of any documentation or emails is evidence that something is gone, also leads to its own potential issues. So, like, you got problems either way. Apple lawyers claim OpenAI's hardware business is rotten to its core, and if a judge grants Apple's request, OpenAI highly anticipated device launch and IPO could be derailed, and they may be forced to redesign their upcoming products from scratch to prove that they are clean, which would be a huge and, assuming all these allegations are true, deserved blow.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of half the problem, right? The government will never be able to force a company to actually take any kind of hit due to like laws or whatever, but another company can openly destroy a different company with assistance from the government in many aspects.
Yup. 100%.
The thing that's wild to me is that I know that there are a lot of companies out there that have a strict policy that they just simply do not save conversations.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, like, it would make sense to not have that stuff saved. However, I would like to point out that despite Liu telling Peng to switch to an encrypted messenger app to hide their tracks, they left the entire conversation history on their Apple-issued work laptops, which obviously Apple had access to, and considering they issued they messaged OpenAI in February, we're just copying all of that information the entire time.
Oh, yeah. If you didn't have robust logging turned on at that point, turn it on. Like, come on.
Oh, man. One of my favorite things about this whole situation, though, is no matter what you think of the very famous or infamous, depending on your perspective, Elon Musk, there ended up being, after this lawsuit, an entire open feud between the two on X, where Musk accused Altman, which is the CEO of OpenAI, Sam Altman, on scamming to a whole new level, stating that after stealing an open source AI charity, you then stole all of Apple's phone technology. Wow, what do you plan on for an encore? Altman called Musk a homeboy and mocking his space or data centers, and Musk said, "At least mine plan on launching next year."
I mean, OpenAI is not launching any hardware anytime soon, as long as this lawsuit is in place.
Yeah, not with this lawsuit. The Apple will just get an injunction.
Oh, yeah.
I found that whole thing funny, and then people started posting old, like 2 to 3 year old tweets from Elon Musk stating that basically Apple would regret working with OpenAI because if they can't develop their own AI, how are they going to have good enough security to protect themselves from OpenAI? I mean, he apparently was prophetic.
Yeah. I mean, this is very true.
Oh, man. So yeah, this whole thing is absolutely wild to me. From an outside perspective, it's very entertaining to read and watch play out. So we'll see. Eventually, which would be a long time from now when there's an actual resolution, we'll chat about what actually happened, or if something major comes out in the court, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. As somebody who's not a fan of either company, like, I don't care about Apple in any way, shape, or form, and OpenAI could not exist and I wouldn't notice. I am very interested in where this goes because it's just going to be me eating popcorn while watching.
Yep. I was going to say, just like, ooh, a new Apple OpenAI lawsuit update? Sweet. Let me sit down and enjoy reading this.
Yep, exactly.
Or if your bag is watching a YouTube channel update, either or. But we all get to enjoy two large, very rich, expensive corporations fight each other, so. At least it's, hopefully, no little people get squashed in the meantime. Anyways. Let's move on to a couple new releases, one being new, the other being a remake in lab work. Alrighty, first we're taking a look at Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. As we have mentioned multiple times, both Heru and I are very big fans of the original release of Black Flag, and the essentially remake launched on July 9th. Of this year, obviously, recently, and was an immediate commercial success, selling over 2 million copies in the first 24 hours and peaking at 100,000 concurrent players on Steam, with at one point 98,290 at that time, which breaks all franchise records. Now, to be fair, Assassin's Creed has not necessarily had big releases as of yet, and a lot of their older games wouldn't have necessarily had that kind of tracking on Steam at the time. So, it is what it is currently. Now, obviously, Black Flag, one of the most beloved Assassin's Creed games, attracted a lot of people to come play it. So, this was a great opportunity for Ubisoft to bring people back into the franchise and show people that they can still make good games, even if it's a remake, deliver good quality entertainment and a good value product. But they're Ubisoft, so they didn't do any of that. And the game quickly fell into a mostly negative and/or mixed reception on Steam, with the negative reviews largely driven by external controversies, but mostly pointing out the ridiculous monetization and DRM issues rather than anything actually concerning the core gameplay loop. Also, shortly after this, Ubisoft, and this is the controversies, FYI, Ubisoft proposed restructuring that would lay off 51 employees from Ubisoft Barcelona, which is a huge chunk of the team that worked on this game. So people were pretty upset about that. Apparently the union's holding a strike, and all of this kind of gave people reason to include that in some of their reviews. Outside of that, the big thing that I wanted to discuss was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous monetization. So the base game is $60 and a $70 deluxe edition. So already I'm calling BS. Like, this is not enough of a remake to justify what is essentially a full-priced game, or if you want to claim $70 is the new normal, only $10 discount. Like, I'm sorry, your remakes of older games, as much as you're putting into it, it's an older game. Unless you're giving me something awesome, souped up, and vastly, I guess, different, or include so much extra content that it's worth it, I'm already going to be skeptical. That also launched with $84.91 of day one DLC for a remake.
Oh my lord.
So this one game remake, as ridiculous as it sounds, is more expensive than the 2 Black Ops ports. If you include the DLC. Which, why? Why is there day one DLC like this?
Yeah. I mean, it's not even really surprising. I'm sure a lot of it was probably mostly cosmetic, but kind of skimming through here, it does appear that some of it was not.
Nope. So the DLC included expensive cosmetics, which is one of the things that you were like, and other map packs that simply reveal collectible locations, i.e., they're selling you gameplay components, like revealing the map. Really, that we're charging for that now in an old game that's a remake. This is ridiculous. This was already in the game. You've removed it, and then obviously there were some claiming that the weapons that you could get from some of the DLC paid packs offered unfair gameplay advantage, calling it pay to win. Keep in mind, this is a single-player game, so pay to win being relative, I guess pay to avoid grind, if you want it, or pay to make it easier is kind of what's happening here.
Pay for convenience.
Pay for convenience. That's the best option. Ubisoft officially responded to the Steam review stating that the standard edition is full, complete experience and that the extra packs are entirely optional extras.
Yeah, the whole like $4.99 map pack thing, it seems like it's more along the lines of we're just going to like put them on the map and you still have to go get them. So they're charging $4.99 for what could effectively be an IGN post.
Well, an IGN post, or even like what was like, I always remember the Far Cry cell phone towers where you go climb up the antenna tower and then it would reveal stuff on the map around that area.
Yeah, I mean the Assassin's Creeds have those as well. They tended to be like high peak points and then you jump
like
off into a freaking
or whatever.
Yeah, then you jump off into a cart full of hay.
Totally realistic. But
100%.
I mean, look, I'm being a hater at the moment, but it was fun climbing up to the top of that height, looking over, getting the cool cinematic spin around, see stuff on the map, and then just swan die off the edge. You felt awesome. It felt like being a badass. I don't care if it wasn't realistic, but none of this makes me happy.
No, absolutely not.
I do know, and I didn't put it in here because I couldn't quite verify it, because I didn't want to bother doing the research of what was actually in the original game. But some of the DLC content, some of it was being claimed as removed from the original game too. So something that you used to have access to that you now have to pay for as well.
Hilarious.
So, yeah, keep that in mind. Not verified, but that a lot of people were talking about that. It also was not without its flaws. Keep in mind, you're charging full game prices for this, and you had 30 FPS cutscenes on PC. They were locked to 30 FPS, so it wasn't performance-based. It was just locked to 30 FPS, which on your nice 4K, 480 hertz, no one's got the 480 hertz. The 240 hertz, 144 hertz monitor. Too bad your supposedly good-looking cutscenes are in 30 FPS, because that won't be jarring going from 100 plus frames down to 30 as soon as it switches to a cutscene. I'm going to literally assume, if I didn't know this, that something was wrong. Like, that, like, why am I getting this, like, choppiness here? What's happening?
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, Ubisoft is saying that it's a bug that was triggered specifically when players manually set ray tracing, BVH, and terrain quality to ultra high on PC. What?
How, bro? Did ChatGPT code the settings?
Might have.
Like, come on. Now, look, you can't really. I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt by any stretch of the imagination, but at the very least, in Monster Hunter, their settings just didn't do anything. They didn't brick the game and make my cutscenes 30 FPS. They still didn't do anything, but it didn't make the experience worse.
True. That was already done by the programmer.
Yeah, 100%.
Man, players with high-end rigs also reported severe frame rate drops and stuttering. The community discovered a reliable workaround, which was disabling hyper-threading in BIOS, specifically on Intel CPUs, which made the majority of stuttering issues.
Bro, how can AAA development companies not figure out multi-threading and hyper-threading?
I don't know, especially on a game you didn't have to design.
Right, exactly.
All of this was already existed. All you had to do was copy paste and do better.
All you had to do was open up your engine, tell it to instead export for modern gaming, hit go, and there you go. You have your executable.
And it is that easy. We're claiming that right now. 100%.
I'm obviously simplifying it drastically, but it truly is just a radial button in like Unity and Unreal Engine. Like exporting a video game to be able to be playable on PlayStation or Xbox or PC is literally just a radial button nowadays.
What was the game engine for Black Flag Resynced? Do we know?
I have no idea. My guess would be Unreal Engine 4, maybe 5.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up. But that's not all. Ubisoft Connect also went down shortly after launch, which entirely locked out hundreds of players out of the game, despite it being a single-player title with an advertised offline mode, which is something we've always complained about, as the back-end failure prevented players from accessing their saves. Meaning you couldn't play an offline game, single-player offline game, offline.
I will maybe give them a pass on the full-price game. Supposedly,
okay,
the game contains no code from the original.
I mean,
it was completely rebuilt from the ground up on their in-house Anvil engine.
Look.
I know.
You're still selling me an old game.
And
right?
With $84 of microtransactions.
I think that's the big thing. If
Yeah,
it had
agreed.
absolutely everything, I'm not sure I'd be complaining about the $60 price tag as much.
Yeah.
But considering you're selling me an old game with almost $90 of DLC, I'm not going to be happy about it.
Yeah.
It's not gonna endear me to you as a gaming company.
I mean, when was the last time you were?
I mean, it's been a while. That's for sure.
I bet.
Look, I learned what the definition of insanity was from Ubisoft, and I took that to heart, and I did not do the same thing over and over again expecting a different result, okay?
I mean, fair.
Yeah, but anyways, that it is what it is. They're not going to win back a bunch of people like this. Yeah, they sold 2 million copies, but you got short-term game for alienating people once again. So we'll see how you do in the future. But considering you're having to lay off even more employees, Ubisoft's days seem to be somewhat numbered.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of big companies notorious for not being consumer friendly, EA Sports College Football 27 has a bunch of microtransactions that they added to the game. So yes, this is a sports game, Heru. You're gonna have to get through this with me. We'll get through it together, I promise. Okay?
Can I take a nap?
No, you have to be here for this. Because I don't care about this game either, but I do care about what they did. So on July 9th, there was a major release for a lot of people who are into sports games, and it marked the first time the franchise was available natively on PC, which is good. Despite the high anticipation, the game's Steam rating crashed to mostly negative within the first 24 hours, as content creators involved in EA's early access program publicly stated that microtransactions were completely absent from the pre-launch preview builds. However, they were in the regular game. So they weren't there for the preview builds, and then bait and switch, they were for the actual release, and that EA was intentionally hiding them to avoid bad early impressions. So in the previous title, aka same exact game but 26 instead of 27, players could use free, quote-unquote, fast and faster XP sliders in the offline mode to dictate the pace of their game. Sure, makes sense. You want to be able to, turn things up or down, or maybe get some faster XP if you're playing a single-player game. Modify to the single-player aspect of a game that has no online competitive component to your own, happiness, your own preference. However, EA removed those sliders from the Dynasty and Road to Glory modes. Instead, they are requiring players to purchase college football points to level up their coaches and athletes. That's right. They made leveling up your coaches and athletes in a college football game a consumable microtransaction. The packages ranged from $5 to $150, with prominent community members calculating that it could cost a player up to $100 in real-world currency just to reach the maximum coach level.
What?
Dude, they made it a mobile game. Yeah. This is literally what you would do in a mobile gacha game. You would charge people power-ups. You've charged them to avoid a time sink. This is literally what's in a mobile game. Like I don't see any difference between this and quite a few of the mobile games that I've played. I mean, right? No difference, right?
EA Games, pay for everything.
EA Games, your money's in my wallet. Players and content creators quickly organized a boycott under the hashtag CFB don't play, flooding forums on social media with demands for change. Behind the scenes, developers at EA Orlando were reportedly livid with the monetization mandates pushed by EA executives. In a rare move for EA, for the publisher, EA bowed to the pressure less than a week after launch, and EA announced the complete removal of all paid progression options from Road to Glory and Online Destiny. I don't know how many times they have to learn this lesson, because I don't know about you, but I remember about almost 10 years ago now, which I think 2018, 2017 with Battlefront 2. Ridiculous loot boxes and the loot box rates, where people were like, you'd have to play 400 hours to get Luke Skywalker unlocked in Battlefront 2, and that's like that's a multiplayer focused game.
Yep.
And you're getting a character that was actually different. So this is gameplay elements, aka paid the win. So unless you wanted to pay the big bucks, who's going to play 400 hours to get one character?
Oh, yeah.
So EA ended up backing down from that, mainly because a lot of government people started to go, hey, wait, are these loot boxes gambling?
Yes.
At the time. And it was the game that was the catalyst for that. So they backed down. And here we are, and we're doing it again. I don't understand.
It's not gambling, but it's predatory marketing in general. Like you're specifically trying to make people pay to speed up their progress, and when you've done that, you have designed your game around being slower so that they are enticed to pay.
Yep. And not only that, because all of that's true, but you also removed the feature to make all of that possible. because they already had that feature in the previous franchise.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it'd be one thing if it was a brand new game, whatever, sort of, kind of.
I mean, we'd all still be upset, but it's at least a little different.
Yeah, at that point, you made a decision for your new IP, whoop-de-doo. But no, you went from version 26 to version 27, right? I know this is obviously not the 27th version, but still.
Yeah,
and
I'm with you.
And you just were like, nope, we need more money.
Yeah, you wanted and they patched it back in, so it was the simulation setting at a 1.25 XP boost and a casual 1.5 XP boost. So it's like, yeah, you want this casual setting back? Too bad, it's gone. Instead, you have to pay us $100.
Right. Now, I think what's really, really, really stupid about this is that if they had left in those settings and released the microtransactions, I don't think nearly as many people would be upset.
Yeah. I mean, fair.
Right?
You're not wrong.
You intentionally designed your game around microtransactions. That's the reality.
Mm-hmm.
If you hadn't designed your game around microtransactions, aka leaving in those settings, but just added the microtransactions for, quote, the dads who only have 1 hour on the weekend to play, end quote, then sure, whatever.
What I don't understand is, how does EA not just make the mobile game they want to make? Like, clearly they want to make the mobile game to get the money, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Go to whoever. I don't care. Obviously, this is college. We're talking about a college game. But you can go to the NCAA. You could go to the NFL pros. I don't care. And you could go, hey, we want to partner with you. You all of these gambling things anyways. We would like to make a mobile game that ties into the actual season that's being played, and we want to charge all kinds of microtransactions and have like in-game betting, right? Like, why not? Right? Like, what if there's a whole fun betting thing is like, hey, play the game while the real game's happening, and if you can match their score, you win $5 or whatever. But it's like a $10 or $15 buy-in.
Right.
You know? Like there's all kinds of microtransaction-y and predatory things they could do in a mobile game, and everyone would just accept it because that's the ecosystem that there is. They could go do that. There's nothing that's stopping them from doing that other than licensing. But they clearly have a relationship and licenses anyways.
Yep.
But no, they're try to shove that in a regular console. Well, I guess now console and PC game, and I guarantee you PC gamers are definitely not going to have any of that.
Yeah, we don't tend to be very accommodating.
No. To add insult to injury, EA warned that any unspent college points would lose their utility in those modes, and you would get no refunds. Because you could still technically use them in Ultimate Team, which is like the card pack one, if I remember correctly, where you have to get cards to get players, and then you can play with those players. So, yay. If you were one of the people that got desperate enough to pay for this, it's now useless to you. So, your money, gone.
Mm-hmm.
The sad fact is, outside of this, the game itself was actually pretty well received. So, good job shooting yourself in the foot. I don't understand why these two major companies feel like they continue to need to do this type of ridiculous stuff that doesn't ever seem to work out for them. It just causes more backlash than anything.
Yeah, but you know what it does do?
What's that?
It gets them on the news.
You're not wrong, but I would point out that EA had to be bought by a Saudi conglomerate to be saved, and Ubisoft had to be... No, EA and Ubisoft had to be bought by a Chinese company to be saved. So I'm not sure the being in the news is necessarily helping them long term.
Fair.
Now, to be clear here, EA was not in danger of going out of business as of yet, unlike Ubisoft at the moment with their, bottom dollar stock. But they both were purchased by companies. Alrighty. enough of those shenanigans. Let's get into Shop Class. Alrighty, some AMD and hardware and software leaks. We got the official Zen 6 architecture launch dates for AMD, July 22nd to 23rd of this year. Social media posts highlighted that AMD's Zen 6 architecture will officially be introduced on those dates, with AMD CTO Mark Papermaster confirming this launch is... CTO Mark Papermaster? I don't know what I did here, so apologies. But specifically the new EPYC Venice server CPUs, which, again, as I kind of stated and hinted at earlier, nothing for us, which will be revealed at AMD's Advancing AI event in San Francisco. The Venice is built on TSMC's advanced 2nm process node and utilizes a new SP7 socket with 16-channel memory and PCIe Gen 6 support. The flagship configuration will max out at 256 Zen 6 cores, which is a 33% increase over the Turin lineup, the 192-core Turin lineup, and AMD claiming over 70% higher performance and efficiency compared to Zen 5. While this is obviously an enterprise AI-focused release, it is kind of the initial baseline for the Zen 6 architecture before it starts hitting the consumer market, which no one will be able to afford with any sort of RAM. Desktop and mobile PC gamers are probably looking at CES 2027, which is January, for any information about a potential consumer product. If I'm AMD, I'm not really planning on doing or being even concerned with the consumer lineup, because how are they going to afford a new PC? I mean, with RAM prices, right? Because the people that would be looking at upgrading to this would most likely be the people that aren't in Zen 5, but that are in the Zen 4 architecture range.
Right.
Now, again, some people want to update to this that have recent stuff, but most of them are going to be Zen 4, which Zen 4 is DDR4, so you're not going to be able to use the same RAM kit. You're going to have to buy new RAM, so you're looking at a very expensive upgrade than it normally would have been a year ago.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would not expect any rush to the consumer market for this, next set of Zen 6 consumer chips. Anyways, AMD's next generation Medusa Point is a 10-core CPU, which beats current Strix Point 10-core chips by 29% in single-core performance and 22% in multi-core performance, despite running at just 2 gigahertz. The numbers released from Geekbench 6 test of an engineering sample, so these are actual kind of numbers that they were seeing. The chip features 10 cores and 20 threads, believed to be a 4+6 core configuration, backed by 32 megabytes of L3 cache and 10 megabytes of L2 cache. I'm not sure we really need to get into any more information, as it's just leaks and we're not even close to anything at the moment.
Yeah.
However, hidden in AMD driver files, someone did find options for up to 8x multi-frame generation and ray generation and neural radiance caching. A user on the Chinese enthusiast forum, Chiphel, uncovered these hidden menus in AMD's Adrenalin 26.6.2 drivers by bypassing the standard interface and tweaking a tool called Radeon Tuner. So if a 1:8 frame generation ratio is fully realized, the technology will interpolate 7 AI-generated frames for every single native frame. So basically, using one actual created frame, it's AI generating the other 7. So theoretically, from a 60 FPS game, you could get 480 FPS.
With a hell of a lot of artifacting. Look, NVIDIA tried this already. It crashed and burned.
Well, no, they have frame gen, but it only really works at kind of the lower levels at the moment, at least.
Right. Well, the problem is that how to put this without alienating a ton of people. If you're already experiencing a game at 30 FPS, and that's the availability and the hardware that you have available to you, and that's all that it can do, you're not going to be upset when you get 90 FPS, but you have a bit of artifacting. If I'm running at 120 FPS native, and all of a sudden I go up to 900 FPS, in this case, then all of a sudden I'm seeing a ton of artifacting. Why? I don't care at that point, right? This isn't the 30 FPS to 60 FPS conversation of you can only see 30 FPS, blah, 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 which isn't true, but there is a limit. There's going to be diminishing returns. And I would be very surprised if those diminishing returns haven't started taking a massive effect at that like 300 plus FPS range.
Yeah. I mean, I would think anything over a 2 to 3 generated frames for a real frame is going to be in your face noticeable rather than like noticing issues here or there. It's going to be what is happening on screen. I also think that obviously depends on the type of game too.
Yes.
Like if you're playing a top-down game where like nothing's moving very fast, you're probably fine. But if you're playing, let's just say, Apex Legends, where somebody's flipping and moving crazy across the screen while you're also dipping, ducking, and diving and doing quick and 180s.
Twitch shooting.
Yeah, Twitch shooting. It's going to look rough.
Yeah, it's going to look rough.
Correctly.
And the only thing that I can possibly imagine is that you aim, like your subconscious aims at the artifact of someone's head and you're pissed.
Yep.
Like that's how I would react at least. Like I would just be angry at that point.
Assuming you only see one head, what if it accidentally generates two?
Exactly. Remember, this is AI generation, right? This is generative AI. It is taking one frame and creating the next 8.
Yep. And it's trying to predict vectors of movement too. So if you're doing anything that moves quickly or erratically, it's going to struggle.
Right. So unless these games have some way of telling the AI, hey, within the next 8 frames, this character is actually going to start moving left despite the fact that it's moving right, you're just never going to get a perfect experience.
It's going to be much better for the thing where you're at like 60 or 90 frames and you're trying to get over 100. That's going to be your best bet where it's a low usage. Now, to be fair, NVIDIA does have like a 6x dynamic frame generation, but I don't know anybody that uses it.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly my point, right? I don't know. It's very dumb. I hate it. But maybe that's largely because I play a lot of games that require reaction, right? I'm not playing story-driven games very often.
I wonder how the frame gen would work with your WoW with all of the like effects and spells that are happening on screen.
It would crash. There's no way it would crash. There are GPUs already out there that just crash to black during some of the raid fights and boss fights in dungeons. Like,
well, I don't know if
it's not even
crash,
surprising.
But if it's got to predict, does your screen just like white out from all the effects that are happening?
Probably. There's one particular mechanic on the last boss of just Midnight Falls. I'll just call it that because that is the last boss. That when you kill the ads, your entire screen, if you have your particle density turned to anything except for 0, will just black out for a brief second, right? And it's just the game world, so you still have all your UI, but it's just solid black for a brief second. It's like maybe 30 frames, right? And it's rough. So we have to have a freaking add-on that goes in and disables particle density for the first phase of that fight, and then when you enter phase 2 of that fight, that same add-on turns particle density back on. I'm dead serious. It's the stupidest thing ever. And the reason that you do this is because those 30 frames where it just blocks your vision, you could easily get hit by a different mechanic that is just in the room.
Now add frame gen to it.
Exactly. Now add frame gen to it, and how many more frames does it decide should be black?
It's a good question. Or when things start to come back, does it just freak out for like a tenth of a second, or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I do think that frame generation will be very good for games that tend to be very slow or just slower in general. Things that don't have a lot of stuff going on, and namely for story-driven games, right? Because it is going to give you a better experience. Those games tend to have more predictable movements in them.
True.
Whereas
more tailored experiences.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than reactionary gameplay. But unfortunately, that's like all we play.
But at the moment, it's not functional. It's just something that they found in the files of the AMD driver. So maybe at some point we'll see it and then we can fully judge for ourselves. If it does come to fruition, because you're the one with the AMD card, you're going to have to test it and see how it goes and report back, because I want to know.
I'll record it, to be honest. Like, if it does end up coming out, I will throw it onto WoW and record, like, doing a re-clear of a boss or something, just to see what it looks like.
I mean, I wonder if it's even in the settings now for a NVIDIA card. Like, is NVIDIA dynamic frame even available on WoW? I have no idea.
You would probably have to do it through their, like, third-party app thing. They let you like manually change settings. It is too much work, you're right. But like I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, WoW only supports FSR.
Yeah. Well,
so
probably not then.
Probably not. No.
Alrighty. That's all we got for shop class. Let's get into some history. Alrighty. We have some more modern things in here, but I put this in here because we're starting off with the story. Do you know this story, by the way, of when Valve almost went under after facing a legal battle?
I do remember this, sort of.
All right, so for anyone who doesn't know, during the development of Half-Life 2 and Steam, so this was before Steam was actually available on PC platforms, Valve faced a crushing legal battle with Vivendi that pushed the company to the brink of financial ruin. Vivendi launched, which, by the way, not around anymore. Vivendi launched aggressive counterclaims attempting to claim all of Half-Life intellectual property and permanently halt the launch of Steam and intentionally put Valve out of business. So, not the roses, bed of roses that everyone, I don't know if most people know about Valve, because I doubt anyone really thinks Valve ever faced, like, without knowing the story, or being at least a little older, would know that it wasn't all nice and easy times with Steam as it is nowadays, where everything seems infallible and Steam's not going anywhere and you don't have any issues. At the time, there was no consensus platform to buy games for Steam. You were buying a lot of disc-based stuff in stores, or you were downloading kind of directly from companies that were making whatever game and selling it from whatever digital store they had it at. So there wasn't like a consensus place to go get stuff like we have nowadays. Anyways, Gabe Newell sacrificed his personal wealth and came incredibly close to bankruptcy, completely depleting his liquid assets to go all in and fund the company when there was no money left. Valve being on the brink of bankruptcy, Newell went to the industry begging for help to launch Steam, and 99% of the companies told him no, and that he was wasting his time. Well, hindsight, I guess. I mean, could you imagine if they had bought in and invested and owned, like, let's say 30 or even 50 or 49% of Steam?
Yeah, any of them. Any company. And I can get into a little thing after this before we go into the actual bit, because there is some Blizzard information that relates to this.
Okay. Oh, okay, I didn't know you were doing it now.
No, not yet.
Valve faced overwhelming legal costs, and as an intimidations tactic, Vivendi would dump innumerable pages of discovery documents printed in Korean, assuming it would drain the rest of Valve's time and money. We talked about discovery earlier for Apple. A common tactic when you have to give companies access to files and records is to literally give them everything. Now, this was before the advent of AI, where people themselves had to actually go through the information. So I'm not sure how well this strat would use nowadays, when you could just put everything on a scanner, scan it all in, and ask AI to give me any pages that mention X thing.
Yep.
But
pretty much.
It was valid back in the day. The studio survival, ownership of the Half-Life IP, and the entire future of Steam were only secured when a Korean-speaking summer intern found an email hidden in the massive document dump that proved Vivendi was destroying evidence, shifting the lawsuit in Valve's favor.
That guy's your, like, CTO or something now, right? I hope so, because, like, he saved your whole company.
I mean, dude, Gabe's got to have his plaque up somewhere, right?
Oh, yeah, probably.
I hope he named his yacht after this guy. I know he didn't, but that would still be awesome.
Oh, it would be awesome.
But yeah, so Valve knows what it's like to be pushed around and bullied, and I think that this kind of definitely set the stage for them to be the good guy Valve we know them to be nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of wanted to get into that a little bit, because they had another record-breaking first half of 2026. Steam had its most profitable period in its 22-year history, generating an estimated $11.1 billion in gross revenue in the first half of 2026. So, buku dollars. It represents a 14.5% increase year over year, eclipsing the entirety of Steam's revenue during the 2020 pandemic boom, which sat at $7.2 billion. Only 21% of that revenue came from new releases, meaning that 79% of the purchases were driven by older catalog titles or purchasing add-ons for older titles. According to Reese Elliott and Alina Analytics, this growth was driven by a massive surge in the Chinese market, with higher game prices, viral co-op hits, and major third-party publishers returning to the storefront. 50% of all Steam accounts belong to Chinese-speaking users as of February 2025, which is not something that I knew. And, well, before this, the top 3 grossing games for the first half of 2026 were Forza Horizon 6, Resident Evil Requiem, and, interestingly enough, Crimson Desert, which generated roughly $190 to $200 million, making that dough. Now, we talked about the rough start for Valve. Well, rough kind of in the middle for Valve, because that was well into Valve's life, but before Steam. And how they have massive success and have no reason to go out of their way to help anybody, because they make all the money regardless. And yet, first-time indie developer working on the social deduction game Red Flag mistakenly uploaded an unbootable build right before Steam Next Fest deadline, which, if you don't know, Steam Next Fest is usually highlighting a bunch of indie titles, a lot of times with a demo or a slice of the game for people to try. And Steam highlights these titles to kind of get the word out about them, a little bit of marketing. Apparently, the team had messed up the C++ redistributable setup by shipping local DLLs instead of using Steam's common Redist system. Because the approval process normally takes 5 to 7 days, the team sent a desperate email to regular Steam support over the weekend. And instead of outright rejecting the build, which would have caused the game to miss the festival, Steam support reviewer found the problem, manually edited the configuration, shorted the dependencies, and approved it in time. And thanks to this hand-on intervention, Red Flag participated in Next Fest and saw its wish lists nearly double, and successfully launched into early access on July 14th. Other indie developers ended up sharing similar stories once this one came out, but I think this is a great illustration of why people are so loyal to Valve. Rough start doesn't make them bitter. Makes them humble, makes money hand over fist. They make more money than God, essentially, and have no reason to cater to anybody. They could be the bullies that EA and Ubisoft try to be, and nobody could really stop them. And yet, Here is one guy in the trenches working for Steam that goes, hey, this is the culture we live in at this company. Let me help out these hardworking developers and get them settled and taken care of. Not something that ever needed to happen.
Nope.
But they did it anyways.
Yeah, like, this doesn't make Steam money. If anything, this is maybe a net neutral experience.
Sure.
Like the Steam support reviewer, their time and their pay, as well as the function of setting up everything, there's no way that this one tiny game by itself even covers that cost.
No,
by any stretch.
More than likely 80% or higher of the people that ended up buying this game in early access would have just bought something else, right?
Yeah,
like,
100%.
So it's not like Valve needed this game to exist to make money. They would have made the money. But to your point, they did it anyways.
Yeah, and they did it anyways because Steam has largely figured out that if you treat not only your customers, but also your employees well, all of a sudden everybody likes you. And they're willing to put up with just more shit, right? We're willing to put up with a Steam controller that's over $100.
Yep.
Right? We're willing to put up with a Steam Deck that's pricier than we really expected it to be.
Or even something that should have been a death sentence, an overpriced, aesthetically pleasing, mind you, but overpriced, essentially, a family room computer, which should have just been mocked into the ground. But because people give Valve the benefit of the doubt, it's easy to believe Valve is being honest when they say, hey, we're selling it for cost. Unfortunately, the AI boom has caused prices to increase. This is what we got to charge to break even. They're willing to get the benefit of that doubt. Do you think if Sony or Xbox came out and said the next console is costing $1,250 and we're selling it at cost, anyone would be like, sure. I'm not saying people would still buy it, but no one would be happy about it or on board with it or even okay with it. They would be like, absolutely not. You're lying to me.
Yeah, they'd be cursing PlayStation the whole way out, right? With their $1,200 PlayStation 6.
And they would be bitter about it. But I'm sure the people that bought their Steam machine saw all this, knew what they were getting into, and were like, yeah, it's fine. I'm happy with it.
Right, exactly. And to be fair, like, if you're buying a Steam machine to replace, say, an older PC build, you're probably relatively knowledgeable when it comes to the prices of DDR5.
That's fair. I mean, chances are you could get a pre-built that does perform better, assuming you like strip out all the bloatware. But it's not the point. So, good guy Valve. Rough start. Still humble with all the money. Being awesome. Alrighty. So let's move. What's that?
The thing that I was going to talk about.
Oh yeah, your WoW thing. Go for it.
Yeah, well, not necessarily WoW. Specifically, Activision Blizzard before they were purchased by Microsoft. There's a not very well-known story that Activision Blizzard, when they originally launched their Battle.net launcher, which was before Steam, to be clear, there were many, many companies who asked if they could put their game on that Battle.net launcher. And they said no. And all I really have to say is look at Steam.
Yep. You could have been the platform to go to. I mean, gosh, dude. WoW and the height of StarCraft, it instantly would have been a success.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only that, you're bringing more people into your launcher, and like they're going to see all that news about WoW and StarCraft and Diablo and all that stuff, and you're telling me that someone's not going to be enticed to maybe click it because someone else told them it might be fun? Like,
you're not wrong. They would have checked at least one Blizzard game out, and you can highlight your own Blizzard games. So you could put your games at the forefront on the store with everybody else's behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always really funny to me because you know that there has to be some executives out there that are just kicking themselves at
100%.
all of that lost potential.
You know what I read today? That Intel was offered like something like 15% of OpenAI for $1 billion in 2017.
I do remember something about that.
I always love those stories of companies making the poor decision with obviously what we know, hindsight being what it is, but it is funny. Yeah, Battle.net could have been the program that we're talking about now.
Yep, absolutely could have.
But we're not. Have I ever told you my beef with the StarCraft server browser?
I don't think so, but it's probably similar to my Arc server browser beef.
Dude, at the time, it was Harry Potter Book 6, and I was reading it, and I was loving it, and some gigantic booty hole mother individual named their StarCraft server Dumbledore Dies.
I do remember this story.
And I was halfway through the book, and I was so upset that I literally closed out of BattleNet and like kind of just had to like take a moment to collect myself. I was so upset. I will never forget that. And to be honest, it's one of the, whenever I think or talk about StarCraft, I instantly remember that thing. That person has lived rent-free in my head for so long, and I hate it so much. Ruined one of my favorite book series as a kid growing up.
Yeah, I think you told me that story like 4 years ago or some crap.
Gosh, I hated it so much. The worst.
Oh, that's a banger.
That person sucked.
Alrighty, let's get into civics and sociology.
Alrighty. Your Australia has decided that GTA 6 will need age verification. And no, this is not the standard one that you would need to get a more mature rated game. The post from Dextero claims that Rockstar Games could face civil penalties of up to $49.5 million per breach if they fail to verify users are adults. So, I made the joke earlier, but even if you were to pay somebody to go into a store and buy the digital code for you, it wouldn't stop, at least in Australia, it seems like that wouldn't be able to get you to play the game because you're probably still going to have to put an ID in when you get home and logged into your account to play Grand Theft Auto 6 in Australia. None of this is official, but with Australia's strict online safety regulations known as the age-restricted material codes, it mandates that platforms must protect children from R18 plus material, which every GTA, well, all the recent, and I put recent in air quotes, GTAs have been, so most likely GTA 6 will also be R18 plus, and it's required online age verification methods. I mean, I guess sucks for any gamers in Australia.
Yeah, I mean, you know me. I go back and forth on this one. Like this topic in general. I think that there are some pros to forcing verification, but I think there are just so many cons that rightfully are just too big of a con to be willing to do it. And one of the primary ones is just like, if they have your information, it's never secure.
No, it's not. I mean, we talked about the Discord issues where all of that information was hacked and stolen, essentially. So you're right. If it's out there, someone probably will get access to it eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, that's not to say that someone can't also just hack the government and get that information, but at the very least, you could hopefully expect the government would be a little bit more secure, but also probably not.
I mean, fair. I would be interested to see if a game all about crime and criminality complies with law. And I mean, they're going to, because apparently the Australian Prime Minister is also looking at increasing the maximum penalties to 99 million Australian. So I doubt any company is going to be willing to sacrifice 50 million to 100 million just to make a point, unfortunately.
Well, and on top of that, like, the only thing that they really have to do is make a good faith attempt. Right? If somebody finds some way around it, but they've put in the verification process to the T of what they require, their hands are up in the air because they don't care.
I mean, that's fair.
Right? And because at that point... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, does it require, like, verification just the first time?
Right, exactly.
Or does it require it every time you boot up the game? Or is it per account? So, like, let's say if Microsoft or Sony has already done age verifications so that people can see mature rated games on those stores, is that good enough? Or does Rockstar have to do supplemental age verification? I don't know.
Right. Is it every single time that they boot up the game, they have to I don't know, scan their driver's license or something?
I hate that so. I absolutely no.
Yeah, it's dumb, to be clear. And as someone who is a guardian of a child, I get it. I understand what people are trying to do, but I hate to say, it's on you. It is on the parent to protect them from that crap.
Yep. I at least hope that if they do it, they like incorporate it into GTA. Like, what if a virtual in-game bouncer like pops on screen? Like, whoa, buddy, are you old enough to get in here? And then you have to like hand over your ID.
Jeez. I mean, that would be probably the best way to like make fun of it. It would be immersive, but it would also be making fun of it, which I think is kind of perfect. That's the only way that these games these game development companies will ever be able to fight this, is by actually following their requirements to the letter, but then doing something like that makes it immersive and funny to make fun of the process.
Oh, 100%. It would be a good way to poke fun at it. I think you are 100% right. To be fair, GTA Online does require ID checks, so the infrastructure is already there.
Yeah, fair.
But I would also like to point out that most IDs are driver's licenses.
Yep.
So does that mean that you need a driver's license to play Grand Theft Auto?
Honestly, that would be even funnier.
Oh man, yeah. What if instead of a bouncer, it's like a virtual cop that's like, "I need your license and registration, sir."
How old were you when you played your first GTA game?
I was never into the original, so I was way later. But I definitely got my hands on, I think, like the first, like, other than Halo, because Halo is technically mature rated. I think the first mature rated game that I got my hands on that my parents didn't know about, it was Fear. First Encounter Assault Recon, for anyone that doesn't know. And I literally did the thing where I paid a dude to go into EB Games to buy me the game. I just gave him an extra $10 to buy me the game.
How old were you? Sorry.
I think I was 12 or 13.
Okay, so this is where it gets really funny. My first Grand Theft Auto game was Vice City.
Uh-huh.
It was in 2002 when it released.
Yeah.
You know how old I am.
I do.
I was 7. I was playing Grand Theft Auto Vice City at 7 years old.
Oh, man.
Like,
I mean...
But the thing is that I didn't go some roundabout way to get it. My mother just bought it for me.
Yeah.
Right? And she just had the conversation right then and there. Was like, look, all of this is completely fake. It is all fiction. Don't imitate any of this in real life. And then sent me on my way.
You don't get to spawn at the hospital.
Right. Now, again, as the guardian of a 7-year-old, I don't know that I would buy him a Grand Theft Auto game.
No.
But
I She did a very reckless thing in a responsible way.
I feel like I turned out okay.
Look, I'm not saying you didn't turn out okay. I'm just saying I definitely don't agree with her giving a 7-year-old GTA, regardless of whether or not she's having a conversation about it. At least she had a responsible conversation about it. I'm giving credit for that, but I don't think that excuses the rest of the action. That's like, just because we had the dog conversation earlier, that's like giving a child a firearm safety course and then leaving the house with the firearm in the house. Like, it's just like, yeah, you did the firearm safety course. That's great. But like, you shouldn't still be leaving them alone with the firearm.
Right. Now, something that I will kind of clarify for some of our probably younger audience, Grand Theft Auto Vice City was nothing like GTA 5 and what GTA 6 will be. It was,
or even GTA 4, I would say,
or even GTA 4, or even San Andreas, for that matter.
Yeah, San Andreas was really kind of where it.
San Andreas went crazy. I would say that the worst thing about Grand Theft Auto that was probably not acceptable for a 7-year-old is the fact that you could pick up hookers.
Yep.
Like that's probably the biggest thing. Because like obviously, yes, there were the cop chases, there was the robberies, there was Grand Theft
but Vice
Auto.
City was literally like a game version of a 1980s action movie in Miami.
It was
literally what it is.
It was good. Yeah. It was good. I have very
game.
Fond memories of that game. I'm trying to find its rating.
I mean, it had to be rated M for mature. There's no way it wasn't. Not
it was
with the hookers in it.
Yeah, it was rated
like M. Yeah, it's like it had. I mean, it's kind of your only option at that point.
Yeah,
there's not really an in between for hookers.
True. Even if they are in a car that is completely tinted, and the extent of what you're seeing is the car shaking back and forth, but still.
And polygonal.
Yeah.
Man, alrighty. We're kind of getting towards the end here, so we're gonna quickly finish up with free period. Alrighty. I put PlayStation updates here because we have now talked about it thrice. So this is where we're at, and if they keep giving me news, I'll keep bringing it up. But I mean, I don't know how much more we can squeeze out of this. I did see that via IGN and some other type of stuff that despite the push towards digital, 82% of all PlayStation 5 consoles sold were the disc edition console compared to 18% digital editions. So yeah. People want the disc. To be fair, it's a little skewed because the disc edition tended to be the more powerful one, but that is what it is. Making sure that data's out there. I don't want to be somebody that skews and obfuscates the information as I get to the word eventually. A recent survey over 6,500 dedicated PlayStation enthusiasts and players revealed that 45% are seriously considering a complete migration to PC gaming, with only 23% expressing firm commitment to remaining on the PlayStation ecosystem. A digital-only mandate was cited by 41% of surveyed users as the main driver for leaving, with the open nature of competitive pricing on PC storefronts being a primary draw. I mean, we talked about Black Ops earlier. This means nothing. Like, people can answer whatever they want in a survey, but unless they actually put their money where their mouth is and walk the walk, it doesn't matter.
I mean, I find it hilarious, honestly, that like with this conversation about Sony and PlayStation going to a digital only system, that people are talking about migrating to PC gaming, which has been a primarily digital ecosystem for probably a decade.
At least.
Yeah, at least 5 years.
No, 15.
I would say.
Because those 2010s, dude.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I remembered basically in the 2010s there was the conversations of man, you can't even get discs anymore. It's just codes in the boxes.
Yep, yeah. I remember vividly, I think my last disc install of a video game was World of Warcraft Burning Crusade. Dead serious. And that was pulling out discs and putting 4, 5, 6 different discs into the freaking drive as I was needed.
I just realized I built my first gaming PC in 2011.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I've ever played a PC game from a disc. On my gaming PC, as a child, I played StarCraft, but when I actually built a gaming PC, because it was playing on the computer as a kid, then consoles, then kind of college, after college, building the gaming PC, I don't think I've ever actually installed a game from a CD on my gaming PCs since 2011.
Yeah, my first gaming PC was a pre-built from iBuyPower, which is really funny because they're a significantly better company now than they were in 2005.
I mean, PC gaming as a whole is better, a lot better.
That's true. That's very true. And it did come with a disk drive, but that was still kind of like the transitionary period.
I mean, I put an LG Blu-ray drive in that gaming PC I built, but I didn't put it in for games. I put it in for movies.
That's fair, yeah.
So, because I was buying the really nice monitor, so I was like, well, I got the 1440p monitor. I'm going to put in a Blu-ray drive. I remember going to Micro Center, dude, and picking out a LG Blu-ray drive to go in there.
Do we think
it's over there? I can actually see the old PC.
Do we think that Sony realizes that moving their system to full digital puts them in a direct competition with PC gaming?
I honestly think they're taking like the Apple route, where people are so invested in the ecosystem, they're not going to be willing to make the switch.
It's not that... Games aren't like that, though.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's not like you can bring over your account, your trophies, the history of games you've played, the friends list, the saved games. A lot of times PlayStation games are backwards compatible with one generation, usually. Not always the case, but usually. So like you won't even be able to play the backlog of games from the previous generation that you have.
Yeah, I don't know.
Assuming you have digital versions.
Right, exactly. And assuming that those digital versions are backward compatible.
But I do think in general you are right that it does remove a big barrier to entry.
Yeah. It removes a core aspect of the reason that some of these gamers stick with PlayStation. The ability to own their games, right?
Yeah. Or just at least not have to deal with the digital world in air quotes. Even though I can lend games on Steam, can you lend a digital game on PlayStation?
Nope.
I didn't put it in here, but there are rumors that sometime later this week or next week, Xbox is going to officially talk about that disc to digital thing that I mentioned, which I think could be a big boon for Xbox if it ends up being true, or anything, and I'm rolling my eyes, anything easy to use and consumer friendly. I mean, for example, you could potentially ship a discless Xbox and just offer a USB Blu-ray drive to plug into the Xbox to A, play movies, and or B, load a disc game to the Xbox, to which you can then deauthorize at any point and loan to another friend. I feel like that would be acceptable to a lot of people, as long as I can go from having a disc to playing a game. I don't think anyone's really going to complain.
I think you could even go a step further than that, to be really honest with you. I think if they released just one more generation that has disc compatibility, is fully backward compatible all the way to Xbox 360, and just said, hey, put your disc in the Xbox and say, I would like to convert this to a digital copy. It's a conversion, right? And in that conversion, writes onto your profile that you own this game and wipes the disc.
Well, but here's the thing. It defeats the purpose of having the disc, as in like
yes,
being able to loan it out and send secondhand market.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a because the rumor is that you can do it with older game discs, like current Xbox One. I don't know about 360, but the rumor is this generation of Xbox and last generation of Xbox, it's going to work with the disc games, which is great. I don't think you would have any ability to even wipe those without just flat out destroying them, like having a mechanize an analog thing in the player to destroy the disc. But I don't think you need to. If you're basically using the disc as a key and then downloading that to the console and using the key from the disc to verify, okay, this account now has access to this digital copy, and the disc is unusable until that key is released, I have no problem with that. Like,
but then
how does that to me?
How does that work with an offline PlayStation or Xbox?
I don't know. That's the whole point. This is rumor, but the rumor is that you can upload it to an Xbox, the disc doesn't work anymore, and then you can delete it or remove it from your account, and then the disc will work again for somebody else. Is the rumor. I don't know how they're doing it, but I do like that that's an option. I think that's a good option to have, because then the secondhand market still exists and people can sell used games. Now, it does make GameStop employees' life difficult because they are literally going to have to boot up every game to check it.
Yep. They absolutely will.
But better a secondhand market than no secondhand market. So...
Yeah. So...
And I think it does. I think you're not going to see a default disc edition for the next consoles because it's cost. It's cost in shipping weight. It's cost in space for the console. It affects cooling because wherever you put that disk drive is going to block any sort of airflow.
Yep.
So I don't think you're going to see a disk drive in the next console. But if you like, a USB disk drive is something you can make affordable. Rather than like the fancy Sony Snap-on one. Because if the whole point of it is just to rip it onto the console, then all you need is a USB connection. So I feel like that would be the most efficient and cheapest way to make it happen.
Well, and especially if the next Xbox is supposed to be effectively just a stripped down Windows. Like, there's no way that you can't just put in drivers to run any old disk drive.
Yeah. Well, Blu-ray one, but yes.
Right, that's what I mean.
The discs would have to be Blu-ray, unless you're just making them an actual key, and then they're just regular CD discs that are unlocking the option to download it from the Microsoft Store, which could be an option. I don't know how this works. So
funny that you mentioned that, because I wanted to mention this. Monster Hunter World on PlayStation 4 was the reason that I stopped buying physical games.
Because it was basically that?
Because it was a key.
Yeah.
That's all it was. You could not play the downloaded game without that disc in your PlayStation.
Yeah. Because I do like the idea of this disc to digital, but I think the game needs to be on the disc. Now, I'm not saying play from the disc, but I feel like for this to be truly something that I can appreciate and give Xbox a win for, like a full win. I'm not saying they can't get a partial win for some of the things we've talked about, but to get a full win, like my full stamp of approval, you would need to be able to, blackout style, be able to plug your Xbox into backup generator, put this disc in the drive, and rip it to the console and play it without it ever touching the internet.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening, but if you could, that would be great. Alrighty. Beyond that nonsense, there was some controversy as in various chats and streams, PlayStation was issuing 7-day bans and had automated moderation for anyone discussing the disc drama in those official Sony streams and or chats, which, to be honest, I'm not surprised. And I like as much as I would like to be outraged by this, if you're having a stream and you're trying to get something out there and someone's spamming something, you're going to ban them. Regular Twitch streamers are going to do that. So this is a nothing burger. Outside of that, the Brazilian Consumer Protection rights actually gave consumers a victory as following complaints, the Brazilian Consumer Protection Agency, Procon-SP is how this is written, is officially ruled that Sony's current fine print, which allows them to remove a player's digital collection without warning, is considered abusive and legally invalid in Brazil. Go Brazil. They affirmed players' rights to freely use, sell, lend, and share both digital and physical games, explicitly mandating that Sony's platform migration must respect acquired consumer rights, and they are waiting for further action from Senecon. Not the only country. Mexican antitrust scrutiny also came into effect as lawmakers are preparing an antitrust complaint against Sony, arguing the digital-only move constitutes an illegal monopolistic practice that gives Sony total control over pricing and distribution of games on its platform. French political intervention as well, with French presidential candidate Jean-Luc Mélenchon publicly condemned the move, framing it as a consumer rights and cultural preservation issue. So, it is big enough that actual governments and governmental politicians are getting involved as well. So I think that's the other route that you could see a good resolution is there is some sort of law or mandate that says any digital purchase must be able to be resold by the person that bought it.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do with microtransactions at that point, though? Specifically, consumable microtransactions.
Good question.
Right? Because, like, the problem is that what that turns into, if I have the ability, and I'm just going to use World of Warcraft as an example, I know you all are probably sick of it. If I purchase some kind of in-game currency, aka gold, and I have to be able to resell that, that all of a sudden makes it to where I can resell legally and enforceable by the government that I can resell any gold that I have purchased from Blizzard to another player for real money. Because that means that is now a digital product that I have purchased and therefore can resell for money. That's fine.
I mean,
it's reaching.
It's reaching, but I'm on board for it.
I'm not. Not for that aspect.
Well, being able to like resell like DLCs or at least sell the game that they're associated with it and have that game have the DLCs tag along.
Yes. Yeah, I think something like that would be perfect.
And I don't know what I did with it. I intended it to have it in here, and I actually did the research for it, but I don't know where I put it, so it makes me sad. So you're not going to see this on here.
Aggie.
But China actually ruled in favor of consumers that digital inheritance is a thing. Heirs can inherit the right to use accounts and assets, but the game publisher will still own games themselves. So if the publisher shuts down the servers, the inherited assets disappear.
Right.
But you have a legal right to transfer your account and everything associated with that account to a family heir. Which, in and of itself, transfers ownership of all the DLC and everything you bought.
Yep.
So there is movements along that line.
Yeah, and if China did it, I mean, I know a lot of United States individuals kind of turn a blind eye to China in general, but they are massive.
True.
Like, their population is gigantic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, huge.
Yeah.
And the thing that makes me laugh, because we're talking about this, is this all stemmed from a case where a player died leaving behind a rare MMO weapon that was worth about $7,300. That's $7,000. Because the player's in-game romantic partner helped grind for the item, the court ruled that the virtual item was joint property and split the real-world proceeds of its sale between the deceased's real-life widow and the in-game partner. So,
that's wild.
Yep. And obviously this gamer's account went to the mother, hence the proceeds. She got the proceeds from the sale. So
right.
Yeah. I was like, I'm sorry, I don't know where I put this, but I meant to have it right here for this exact conversation. But yeah, so you're seeing a lot of movement on digital rights ownership in various different aspects, which I love seeing. So hopefully there's something that coalesces into something a little bit more robust. Yeah. But at the moment, at least things are looking better, let's say.
I think the Brazilian government, that's definitely a big push. The Mexican government, we'll see how that antitrust complaint goes. French is, not to be mean, but whatever. But like China's huge. That kind of a ruling from China is huge.
Yeah. I think it's definitely a good one to have. Especially because, I mean, I'm not in China, shocking. But weird. It would be nice to put in my will or something that, like, my nephew or whoever gets my Steam account or whatever.
Right. Well, and I'm just imagining the lawyers in like an inheritance dispute or, in a whatever against a company for a child that wants to gain possession of, namely, a Steam account.
Yep.
For example, I just imagine a lawyer being like, well, you guys claim that you're so good in the US, but you won't allow this, but China did. Yeah. Right? It doesn't even have to be fancy. You bring that up, and all of a sudden people are like, oh, shit, you're right.
Yeah, it's not our courts, but there is movement. There is a reality in which it exists in this world. So
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so we'll see. Good stuff moving forward, hopefully. Outside of that, the community price tracking also demonstrated that physical discs are often cheaper, sometimes up to 90% than digital counterparts, which, surprise. Is anyone surprised about that? As soon as a game releases, within a month, if not shorter, if the game's terrible and doesn't sell well, it's already going to be like a default 20% cheaper than what the full price is. But all the digital storefronts, unless they're running an actual sale, which is not nearly as often as Steam and is not nearly as deep as Steam's cuts, will always, for the most part, be full price. So even new games physical are going to be cheaper than digital games, especially on a restricted platform like Sony or Xbox's marketplace. That's not a shock to anybody. I did find it interesting that a group called Does It Play did some assessment and confirmed, I do that in air quotes, that 93% of physical PlayStation 5 releases are fully playable offline straight from the disc without requiring internet check-in. Although a lot of people mocked their chart because although the percentages added up to 163%, so I'm not sure how much we can trust their numbers when a full pie chart equals 163%, because that's not how percentages work.
What? It's not?
No. We did mention it last week about things going offline. And one of the things that people pointed out specifically, and you do see this with a lot of games, and it's already happened on the Xbox side. So even though we're picking on PlayStation at the moment, this is something that's happened on both consoles. With the PlayStation 3 store going offline and the game and the servers not being supported anymore, people pointed out that in Infamous, there are trophies for playing player-generated content like maps and scenarios. And all of those are going away, and if you can't play any of those, you can't get the trophy associated with it. So games become permanently gimped. We've mentioned this type before, but I figured just because we've talked about Infamous recently, this is an actual example that will be happening when those PlayStation 3 stores and servers go up.
Always disappointing.
The last piece here, and we don't really need to go into this, I did mention last week the Sony CEO sold about 56% of his shares. He was not the only one. A bunch of people that are employed at Sony at the same time also had large-scale liquidations of Sony stock. So take with that what you will. Just giving people that information.
Weird.
Alrighty. I think that's about time. Alrighty, people. Close your books and pack those bags. And if any of you have an Apple laptop because you used to work at Apple, you cannot take that home with you. That is not yours to keep. The company owns it. No back-end access to their servers. It's just going to cause you trouble for short-term game. That's all we have time for this week and today, and we hope you enjoy your time off and look forward to your participation next time. Peace.
See ya.